Welcome to this recording of our VocTech Together support programme webinar. I'm Jane Holmes, Director of Grants at UFI. I'll be talking a bit about UFI and telling you more about the VocTech Together support programme. I'll cover why we're doing it and what's involved, both in terms of the content the support programme will cover, what we expect your time commitment will need to be, and how much money and support is on offer. Then I'll talk through the application form and we'll be giving lots of top tips. And if you come to one of our live pre-application webinars, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions of the team as well. And you can use these slides as a reference tool as you work through your application if you decide to make one. For those of you who are new to us, new to UFI and to VocTech, let's start with Voc what? We support VocTech, vocational technology, digital tools that help people gain and maintain the skills they need for work. We know that VocTech is an enabler, supporting better outcomes for learners and enabling learning to happen in new ways which deliver for learners and for employers. And who are we? UFI is a small charitable trust, and our mission is to harness the power of technology to improve skills for work, opening up access and achieving positive, lasting outcomes for those furthest from opportunity. We believe in a future where everyone is included, everyone is skilled, everyone is empowered, and everyone benefits. Here's a quick summary of our work. We have worked directly with over 300 organisations to help them develop and scale technology solutions. More than 1 million learners are impacted by the work we fund every year, and we've spent over £38.5 million in grant funding and direct investment so far. And here are some practical examples of organisations we've worked with. All of them happen to be charities, but we also work with commercial organisations, CICs, and public sector bodies too. The first one was working with older teenagers at the risk of dropping out of learning, and we worked with them on an interactive portal that gave learners a clear view of opportunities available to them, their learning journey, and what their next steps could be. The second one worked with people who had dropped out of education and were very distant from any sort of learning, supporting them to learn garment production, making the assessment process low stress through a digital platform rather than an exam. And the third example is a charity supporting asylum seekers and refugees with their English skills so that they can get meaningful work in sectors with significant vacancies. So let's talk more about this VocTech Together support programme. Why are we doing this workshop? So that you can learn what this support programme is all about, what the content is, and why we're doing it, what the time commitment from you looks like and how much money is available to support that, to talk through the application form questions to give you the best chance of success, and if you come to one of the live workshops so that you can ask us questions. First and foremost, the support programme is an amazing opportunity to learn how to approach deploying tech for learning from practical experts in their field with one-to-one support. In practical terms, the support programme is an intensive 10-week learning programme of webinars and mentoring that shares our expertise to help you unlock the potential of technology to help adults get skills for work, with grants of up to £10,000 to support your time to fully participate in that. And by adults, by the way, we mean people who are 16 or over. So why are we doing this? We've learned a lot from working with more than 300 organisations, helping them to develop new technology solutions to help adults gain skills for work. The same barriers or obstacles to using technology for learning have appeared again and again across our work. And we wanted to offer support to organisations that are interested in making better use of technology to help people gain skills for work, essentially to help you learn from our experience, so that you can overcome those barriers or obstacles and successfully choose and adopt VocTech solutions. So we put together this support program. The plan is that it will help small resource-constrained organisations make smarter, lower-risk decisions about vocational learning technologies by building the capability to identify real skills challenges, research, choose and test solutions in practice, and adopt digital learning tools in ways that deliver measurable impact. So what's in it for you? An opportunity to benefit from intensive support from high-quality experts in their field. This would cost you a lot of money normally. And there is up to £10,000 available per organisation to help release your time to take part. And I'll talk more about that later. By the end of the programme, if you've participated fully, you will have a clear, evidence-informed plan for next steps and the confidence to continue evaluating and adopting vocational learning technology independently. So who's it for? This call is open to applications from all industries and UK geographies. We want to work with small, resource-constrained organisations which are clear in their understanding of their vocational learning problem and the impact this problem has, with the capacity to fully engage with the support programme and the mentoring support, and with the support of their senior management team to commit to taking part. All of these things are important. If you don't understand your problem and its impact, it will be hard for us to help you find a way to solve it. If you haven't got the time to engage, you won't learn what you need to. And if your senior management don't think it's important, the barrier to you taking part fully and adopting a solution at the end are higher. And please, if you haven't already, please do our eligibility checker on our website. There are always a proportion of applicants to our grant calls who simply aren't eligible and who have therefore wasted their time applying because they didn't bother doing that eligibility checker bit. We've been thinking through some examples of where the support programme might be useful to try to bring it to life. So you might be a charity supporting people into work. You can see clear barriers holding them back. And you know there are digital tools that can help, but you don't have the time or the expertise to explore the options. And you want to make an informed decision without wasting time or money. Or you might be a small business trying to support your staff to develop new skills. And you've seen tools that can help, but you aren't confident investing and you want to understand what will actually work before committing. Or you might be a training provider already delivering training and there are just too many tools and platforms for you to choose from and you're unsure how to assess what's right. You want a structured way to compare options and make decisions. You might be a community organisation supporting local learners. You've seen a digital solution elsewhere, it looks quite good, but it doesn't quite fit what you need. And you need help adapting and testing, and you want support to pilot something that works for you. Or you might be an association or organisation with existing tools, but the approach depends on who's in the office, different teams are using different tools, and you want to bring everything together. You want a clearer, more sustainable way of supporting skills development. These obviously aren't exhaustive, but if something in those examples sounds familiar to you, then the support programme might be right for you. It's important to say what we don't fund as well as what we do, and the following are ineligible for the support fund. Organisations with beneficiaries solely outside the UK, we're a UK charity, individuals, schools, HE or FE organisations, organisations previously funded by us, and organisations where the learners or subject taught are outside our remit are also ineligible. For example, those focusing solely on skills above level 3 or equivalent that are teaching generic enterprise or entrepreneurship skills, teaching wellness or mental health improvement, or teaching non-work related skills like hobbies. There is an FAQ on our website about what we do not fund, so if you've got any queries, do please check that. So what exactly is the support programme? Let's talk first about the programme principles. It will be relentlessly practical, focused on real problems to help you create realistic plans which will have a beneficial operational impact. Throughout, it will be evidence informed by the evidence you bring with you and that you gather during the programme, supported by experts in their field. This will help you build a working portfolio of evidence and understanding which will inform your final plan. And we'll be open to the fact that VocTech might not be the answer to your problem. And we will prioritise solving the right problem over simply buying a new tool. So what will that look like? Over 10 weeks, every Monday morning from the 28th of September, there will be a series of weekly webinars and group sessions, followed by homework, which is information gathering on templates provided by us. And that will be gathering information to inform your next stage of the programme the following week. And every week, you'll also be able to check in with your mentor on an individual basis. So if you'd like to go over something in that week's webinar, or if you're interested in discussing that week's homework, you have the opportunity to do that. So let's see what that looks like and what will be covered. This is what it looks like. Every Monday morning from 10:30 on the 28th of September, this is what we'll cover in terms of content. Refining problem statements and stakeholder mapping and engagement. Assessing barriers and opportunities. What do you need and want from a tech solution? Researching the market and shortlisting solutions. Planning for a pilot. Buying, embedding and sustaining VocTech. And a review of your evidence portfolio to develop your roadmap or plan for next steps. In between those, there are some group sessions with your mentor, and then you'll have the opportunity for individual mentor sessions, and you'll have homework, information gathering to do. This is what we think at the moment. This is the first time we've done this, so this is a pilot for us, and the answers you give us in our application form will help us develop, flex, and refine this. So how much grant funding is available? We know that's a big time commitment, but our experience tells us that it is what is needed to help you solve the problem you're wrestling with. So we're offering grants of up to £10,000 to help release your time to fully participate in the support programme. So how will that work? There's a question in the application form on this, which asks you to outline how much funding you think you'll need and to explain what the funding will be used for. We expect the majority of the funding will be for staff time, but we have included some flexibility there too, in case you think you will need software licenses, specific hardware, or additional expert support. We know you might not have an exact number, but give us your best estimate and explain how you reached it. And if you're selected to be part of the support programme, you'll need to provide evidence of what you've actually spent at the end of the programme to claim your grant. And you'll need to come to all the sessions. Now, in the live webinar, we'd have a quiz now, but I'm going to move straight on to the application form. Okay, let's go through the key questions. Not all of them, but the key ones. Briefly, you've only got 50 words. Tell us what your organisation does. Then, as this support programme is about helping more people get skills for work, tell us about your intended learners or beneficiaries, including how many you currently reach in a year. You've got 150 words for that, and most of the following questions. The next question is a really important one. We assume you're here because you'd like some support to solve a problem that you're currently wrestling with. Describing this problem well is a really important, possibly the most important part of your application. What is the problem you want to solve? Describe the nature and scale of the vocational learning problem you want to solve. Please make sure your answer to this question focuses on your vocational learning need, not a product. Clearly describes who the learners are and how they're affected. Explains why the probleming is happening, what the root causes are, and shows where things break down in the learning journey and indicates the impact on learners and or your operations. If you delete every mention of technology and your answer still clearly explains who is struggling to learn what, why, and at what scale, it's probably a strong answer. As this is such an important question, we thought a couple of example answers might be useful for you. So here's a poor example answer. We don't have a learning platform, so we'll need to build an online portal where learners can access training. Our current system is old-fashioned and not digital, so the problem is that everything is manual. A new platform will modernise our offer and improve outcomes. This doesn't work because it starts with a solution, platform, not the problem. We don't know who the learners are or how they're affected, and it has no explanation of the underlying issue. And if they don't know or describe the problem properly, how will they know what will solve it? And also, we're not funding a lack of tech. We're interested in you helping you solve your vocational learning problem. So here's a good example answer to compare it with. Our learners are adult social care staff working rotating shifts who need to complete mandatory training while staying in work. The problem is not a lack of content, it's that staff cannot reliably access learning in a way that fits unpredictable schedules and high workload. Training assumes uninterrupted time, which many staff don't have. As a result, staff delay, rush, or disengage from training. This affects around 180 staff a year, with the biggest drop-off in the first 8 to 12 weeks. This has a clear learner group, adult social care staff, and scale, around 180. It identifies the root cause, the time, the access, and the design mismatch, and it shows where the problem occurs. And there's no assumption in there about what the solution is. This is just about the problem. So that's a good example. Here's another slightly different, but also good answer. We support adults entering construction roles, including many learners with ESOL, English for Speakers of Other Languages, needs. Learners struggle to progress from practical skills to written assessment requirements. The root cause is a mismatch between assessment formats and learners' language confidence. This slows progression and increases non-completion, even among competent learners. Around 120 learners are affected annually, with trainers or coaches spending significant time re-explaining and checking written work. This works because it moves beyond low completion and explains why learners who might have the right practical skills are struggling with assessments and therefore dropping out. It identifies a specific barrier, the assessment design, and it links learner challenge and operational impact, the tutors spending lots of time re-explaining and checking. Okay, so that's the problem, what your problem is. The next key question is, what are the consequences of this problem? Again, in 150 words. Describe the impact of this problem on your learners and operations. In the previous social care example I gave, I'd say the impact on learners might be that training is delayed, rushed, or not completed, leading to gaps in essential skills. Perhaps there's reduced confidence and preparedness in safety critical areas like safeguarding or medication. And perhaps there's slower progression and increased risk of dropout during early employment. And the resulting impact on operations might be that there's a higher compliance risk due to incomplete mandatory training, increased staff turnover and onboarding costs, and managers spend more time chasing completion rather than supporting learning. The next question is, what evidence do you have that this is happening? This is fairly self-explanatory. You need to tell us what evidence you have that this is happening. So tell us about your data, your feedback, any reports or observations you have. Throughout, if you don't include the evidence and impact in your answers, it will be really hard for our assessors to assess your application properly. Let's look at number 6 next. Next question is, if the problem you describe is solved, describe the difference this would make to and the impact this would have and your learners and operations. Include how you would measure this impact. You'll hopefully have noticed a theme through these questions, not just tell us the thing, the problem or the consequence of this, but tell us how you know. What evidence do you have? Now tell us if the problem you've described is solved, describe the difference this would make and the impact this would have, and of course, how you would measure this impact. All of these questions are painting a picture for us and hopefully for you too of your current situation and how it could be improved. If we follow the social care example through, if this problem is solved, you'd expect to see something like staff completing training on time and to a higher standard, improving confidence and competence in safety critical areas. You might see dropouts reducing and operationally your compliance risk could lower and you'd spend less time chasing training and your turnover and onboarding costs may decrease. How would you measure those? I'd expect probably through measuring completion rates and time to completion, retention at 12 weeks, and maybe competency assessments and staff and manager feedback on confidence and preparedness. Next question, explain why you think implementing a tech solution would help solve the problem you have identified. How do you know? Again, think back to your problem. The definition of that is really important because all these subsequent answers follow through from it. Why will tech help and how do you know? You don't need to have all the answers at this stage, but you should be able to show you've done at least some initial thinking about the type of technology you want to use and how it could solve the problem. The next key question is, please honestly describe any constraints your organisation may have that are affecting your ability to adopt a tech product. We've got some examples here of things like budget or staff time constraints, staff digital confidence, lack of knowledge, infrastructure limitations, data or privacy requirements, leadership buy-in or learner access to equipment. There may be many more. There's no judgment here at all. We're not going to mark you down if you're facing a lot of problems, quite the opposite, in fact. As you saw earlier in the presentation, we have a plan for the support program ready using our experience, but the more open you are about your constraints, your problems and your challenges, the better we'll be able to flex the plan and the content to help you with your challenges. We're nearly there. As I said near the beginning, this program is a 10-week program with an hour-and-a-half webinar most weeks, plus an hour with your mentor, plus homework / information gathering to do in between the weekly sessions. The grant funding is largely to release your time to take full part in it, and you will need your organisation support to do that. So here's where you confirm who will take part and why they're the right people, and confirm that they will have the necessary support to do so. Taking part in this program really is a rare opportunity. People would pay a lot of money for this usually, to learn something new and practical to develop your skills, to learn how to approach deploying new tech and in a structured and organised fashion, and to work with people who are as committed as you are to making a difference and helping to improve the service to learners and learners' skills. And we're doing it in a way that both covers your costs and give you unique access to high quality experts, so make the most of it. That's why we've included the dates and times of all the sessions in this pre-application webinar, so you'll need to have the time to join in and do the in-between sessions work properly. Finally, we do ask a question about whether you've used AI to help you write your application, and if so, which tool. You won't be assessed on this. We're just curious on this point and are obviously interested in how technology is being used. However, as a note of interest or of warning, what we've observed is that we can usually tell when an application has been written using AI. What we see is that they are usually superficially plausible. They read really well, but they rarely reflect the in-depth knowledge of the applicant. We all know that AI creates very standard and averages sentences, and this is a competitive process. So my advice to you is don't be average. Make sure your knowledge is obvious and evidenced and that your passion shines through. We've developed a policy on applying for our funding, but you do have to click on a button. We've developed a policy on applying for our funding using AI, which says all these things, and you can find that on our website. So what else do you need to know? I know this is a lot of me talking, but just a few slides now to go. It's an online application process. Please do the eligibility checker first and then you can open an account at ufi.co.uk/myufi. Use your account to access, complete, save and submit your application. Assessment is undertaken by an expert panel and 3 assessors see every single application. Where is myUFI? Well, if you go to our website, ufi.co.uk, and you click on More at the top right, and then click on that, and a bigger menu will open up. And on the right-hand side is our VocTech directory, which has got lots of information about all the previous projects that we've funded. Remember, this is something new for us. And click on the myUFI link, and you'll be able to log into our portal to make your application. And now some practical tips. Please make sure whatever device you are using has done all its updates. Sometimes people run into problems when they're using an outdated browser. So if you're one of those people who always ignores updates, now is your time to do them. The application system shows you which page you are on. You can see the 2 green ticks there, which means I've completed pages 1 and 2, which is some information about you and your organisation. And I'm on page 3 at the moment, which is the name of your project. It's called project on our system, but really for your purposes, it's just a quick name for what you want to do. It's a maximum of 80 characters for the name of your project. You'll get an error message if you go above that. You'll see at the bottom right, there's a save and continue button. Once you've got to this stage, the system will create your application and save the information you input as you go along. So you can log out and log back in to go back to your application at any point. Page 8 is where it looks different at the bottom right. This is where you save and submit your application. Please don't submit until you are absolutely sure this is your final version. Everything else will have been saved to this point, so you can go back to it at any time. Once you've hit save and submit, you won't be able to change it. When you submit, there's a tick box where you agree to our terms and conditions. If you're awarded a grant, there's a link to them at that point, and they're available on our website at any time too. Just search for terms and conditions. Here's the whole timetable. The deadline for submission of applications is 5 o'clock on Monday, the 20th of July. We do not accept late applications. If you experience technical problems while completing or submitting your application, you must tell us as soon as possible via info@ufi.co.uk. We plan to make decisions in early September and will let applicants know immediately. And then there'll be an hour's induction webinar on the 9th of September before the programme kicks off properly on Monday, the 28th of September. What happens if you're not successful? We plan to make all the weekly webinar content public, and you'll receive further information about that when you're notified in early September. That way you can follow along and have access to the materials and the homework templates, but without the individual mentor support or the grant funding. And we have the funds to support up to 40 organisations in this call. And finally, as a charity itself, UFI must ensure that any grant given to any organisation that is not also a charity demonstrates the public benefit. This means being able to see evidence of how the proposed approach will benefit learners, how the community of learners has been defined, and the total size of the group the project could reach. Applicants must always explain clearly why they need UFI's charitable funding to support them and how it will make a difference. The questions we ask in our application form we've just been through will answer all of those points. And now, if you came to a live webinar, there would be live questions, but we will move straight on to a summary. If you have any questions, info@ufi.co.uk. So in summary, a grant of up to £10,000 to help you attend an intensive 10-week support programme that will help you build a repeatable, evidence-based approach to adopting vocational learning technologies, by the end of which you will have a clear plan and the confidence to adopt vocational learning technology independently. Please read all the useful information we've put on our website, especially the eligibility checker. You apply using myUFI, and the closing date for applications is 5 o'clock on the 20th of July. My top tip is be clear. Perhaps get someone unfamiliar with what you want to do to read your draft application. It's so hard for our assessors to properly assess your application if they can't understand what it is you want to do, and if you haven't included any evidence in your answers. I hope that's been useful, and I look forward to seeing some brilliant applications. Thank you very much.